What is up, y'all? It's TD from TD Labz. We're back in the lab today. We got a special guest for y'all. If you're not sub to the channel, damn, sub to the channel. Check us out on IG. Check us out on X at TD Labz. Today in the lab, we have Micah Parsons' dad dropping some secrets about the Cowboys, some secrets about Parsons. Check out the video.
30, no 10, touchdown! Are you kidding me? It's a Minneapolis miracle!
Welcome, everybody. So we are back with another special guest at TD Labz. We had Wanye Thomas come in last week from the Dallas Cowboys, and he chopped it up with us for a little bit. And we got a new surprise guest here. I have Mr. Parsons, Micah Parsons' dad. And Mr. Parsons is here. He's going to chop it up with us for half an hour. We're going to go through some questions with him. But first of all, I want to go ahead and get started. And I linked up with Mr. Parsons through his Brotherhood charity. And his Brotherhood charity is something that he's been running, and it's something that I wanted to make note of. I DM'd him when we drafted Micah in 2021 on my personal account, and I told him how much a fan I was of his son. And he ended up following me back. And 3 years later, we're here with TD Labz, and I got him on the show. And I just want to say I'm going to be making some Brotherhood and TD Labz merch. That's going to be our first merch drop. And I told Mr. Parsons that I'd be sending him out 5 or 6 T-shirts so he can give that out into the community and kind of get us going there. So I'm excited for that. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And Mr. Parsons, thanks so much for helping me grow the channel, putting your stuff out there. And I'll let you talk about the Brotherhood charity and what you're doing there in PA a little bit.
Okay, so the Brotherhood, it's the I just retired from the Harrisburgh School District doing security for almost 21 years. And I guess around 2016, maybe, give or take 17, I wanted to start a group, for young men
Okay.
to come in and speak, no hold nothing in. Let's talk about real life and let's learn and grow. And like once a month, we would have guest speakers. Then in April, we would have a big event where we had them dress up. Lunch would be catered. Have
Right.
about 7 guest speakers come in and speak to them. Be an all-day event. And it was going pretty good. I started with 2, 3 people. Then, COVID slowed us down, but we still meet weekly. Have them reading out of books, just have them writing out journals, just expressing themselves because I know for me, communication wasn't the best, so when I decided to start going to therapy and learn more about me, I started looking at certain situations differently. So I pretty much try to tell them, hey, growing up, people thought therapy was for weak people.
Yep.
No, it's for people who want to know more about themselves and be a better person. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. And what you get out of therapy is what you put into it. So if you got a lot going on, you may want to just focus on one thing. You know, Everybody might not see the change, but you see the change. And that's all that really matters. Because if you worry about everybody else, you're never going to get nowhere. I think that was the best thing I did. I wish I'd have went and sat on somebody's couch years ago, growing up. So I just try to teach them to be young men. You know, if you get turned down, that's all right. Keep going, keep working hard, and just make a way. So I'm bad with the years, but I had one of my students, we was in the lab working on what the brotherhood meant to us, going by
Right.
letters, breaking it down.
Right. Right.
The one young man, he used to get in a little bit of trouble, kept to himself. But as we always putting stuff together, 30 minutes later, he said, "Here you go, Mr. Parsons." And when I looked, before I said, "This is it," I asked everybody else and I read out loud. So I'm going to read it to your audience. Brotherhood. Brothers respect others that help each other reach their goals. Hard work only occupies determination.
I
But
love it.
the meaning of it is if we keep treating them as boys, they'll never grow up to be men. So that's one problem. We're supposed to nourish the young people, but to a point, they gotta learn. They make mistakes. Sometimes they gotta go through it. But if you always keep helping them out, or if they get in trouble paying their way and they don't ever see no consequence, it just affects them later on down the line.
Mr. Parsons, what I get out of that is you're trying to teach these kids accountability, right? And you're trying to be that guiding voice for some of these kids that need a little bit extra in their life and that need someone to be there for them when it's most important, right? And it's not about holding their hand and showing them the whole way, but it's about guiding them and putting them in the right place. And that's why I wanted to partner up and go through this with you. And that's why I'm going to be handing out those shirts to you for free as well, because I really want to give back in my community as well. And Mr. Parsons, I was a football coach for a year or two as in here in Brampton, and we were trying to do the same thing. How do we get kids to do something else at night? You know what I mean? And go to practice instead of being out and getting in trouble. So I totally get where you're coming from, and this is what it's all about. And Mr. Parsons, I want you to use this opportunity for yourself. If you have anything else you want to say about the brotherhood or to promote that, or how people can, you know, donate to your charity or donate to the brotherhood? Is there any way fans can kind of get their thoughts out there? And if they want to donate, how can they do that?
Um, well, since it's my group within the school, we didn't do no LLC. We just, take donations through my Cash App and I put it back into the school. Um, they can email me if they got ideas, and everything. At parsdaddy@gmail.com. That's PARSDADDY@gmail.com. I did try to start a nonprofit, but it didn't work because a lot of people were looking at it as to make money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my idea was trying to get back to the community and to the city. So that kind of fell down. So, I knew I had to step back and take a hard look at it and maybe later on down the line try to start it back up with some people that's really just about community, kids giving back. I did a couple during COVID. I partnered up with Be a Man Incorporated here in Harrisburgh, and we fed over 400, 500 families and gave out books for high school kids to read, little toys for the kids, just trying to give back. Then I did another one toward the end of COVID where he's at the Boys and Girls Club. I just try to do my best, just trying to give back the best I can.
Mr. Parsons, you're a stand-up guy, man, and I know a lot of Cowboys fans. They will find this video some way, somehow, and they'll probably try to reach out to you. So I'll have Mr. Parsons' information in the description here. I'll put his Cash App there as well. If you guys want to go ahead and donate to the Brotherhood, you definitely can. And that was a great story. And honestly, Mr. Parsons, I wanted to start off the podcast with that. We're always trying to give back, always trying to help out the kids. And now we can try to get into some of this stuff about Micah, right? And this is what I wanted to get into you, Mr. Parsons. Lots of parents are trying to get their kids to be an elite, you know, athlete. Lots of parents are trying to get their kids to be elite when it comes to sports. Um, Mr. Parsons, Micah went to high school. You went through his life with him. Is there anything you would say that you can take away now to say, you know what? Parents should do this with their kids if they want their kids to have that kind of success at the next level?
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So I have three kids, Terrence Jr.,
All right.
Shatek Parsons, and Micah Parsons. Um, I only went to college for roughly a year, and I left and went to the service. So now, I'm grown, got kids and everything. At the time I was married, I told my wife, I said, hey, we can't afford to send our kids to school. It's going to cost us about $500,000.
All right.
So I said between sports and academics, we could make it work. Because what I see now, I grew up in the 90s, academics was more. So if your academics was good, you might get a scholarship. Now, if you good and you got a decent GPA, they're going to get you on campus, you know. So, and everybody's not an honor roll kid,
Yep.
so you do the best you can. So I told my kids, I said, listen, we're gonna play sports year round. Then after this first year, I need you to pick out something y'all want to do full time, and we'll still keep up with the other sports.
Mr. Parsons, like that's a real conversation to have with your kids, you know what I mean? And to tell them like, yo, this is the only way for you guys to get this future is for us to, take advantage playing sports. How was that conversation with the three of them? Did one of them like some sports like more than others? Did Micah like basketball better than football? Was it one of those things where you had to pick a sport for them? Did you have a favorite sport?
So my oldest son, well, both my boys, they wrestled basketball, baseball. You know, my daughter, she played t-ball, she cheered, played little field hockey, and played basketball. Um, Terrence, my oldest son, I feel like he was a better football player than Micah. He just came up in a different era where it's a little bit rougher for him.
I got you.
But he did excel in wrestling. Now, Micah, on the other hand, he was a great wrestler. But in his mind, he said, there's no money in wrestling. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna stick with football.
What position did Terrence play? I think the viewers are probably going to be asking this question now that you mentioned that.
He played linebacker.
So Terrence and Micah. So from what I've seen, Micah played D end and running back in high school, right? Those were his two positions.
Yes.
I think a lot of people were surprised that first year when he came into the NFL that he got asked to be put at defensive end when D-Law got injured. And I don't think a lot of people know Micah's background, that he was a five-star recruit coming out of high school at both running back and defensive end. Um, Mr. Parsons, were you ever a guy that cared about him playing offense or defense?
Um, I'm more like I wanted to be fair.
Okay.
So we lived in Harrisburgh. He played little league football. He played running back and defensive end. He was a good running back. But, you know, a couple of situations came about and I was frustrated as a parent. So we moved out to Central Dauphin. This was been his first year playing pony. So what happened was the coach was like, well, first year guys got to play JV, and we have a running back already, so we really know what your son's going to do. But what I like
Okay.
about when out Language Town, they did a little combine. So if you combine, you moved up in positions. So at the end of the last week before the season started, they said, well, because I told them, I said, if you put my son on JV, it'd be like cheating. I said, it's not even going to be fair. So toward the end of that last week, they brought three guys up to play straight varsity. And I know they only brought up three because they didn't want to say they was playing favoritism for my son.
Okay.
But then they also told my son, you'll be a fullback. He never played fullback in his life.
All right.
But, you know, they taught him how to block and told him, if you run outside, you won't run the ball here. So you had to learn to run between the tackles. So he just came off a 18 touchdown season on PB varsity. We at Pony varsity, we 3 games in and he ain't had a touchdown yet. So he was frustrated. But over them 3 weeks, he was learning.
Mr. Parsons, what kind of back was he when he was playing at PV varsity? Well, how would you describe him?
Every time he touched the ball, he would score. Seemed like.
He's a power back. He's running up in between the tackles, or he's someone going outside making people miss tackles.
Well, at Harrisburg, he was a sweep right, sweep left. You're not catching me.
Okay.
I'm too fast. But at Language Town, it was up the middle, know how to use your feet. And then once you get to the next level, you could take it outside and go. So
Would
he
you
was a
say?
power back speed.
Would you say he got most of his strength going into high school? That's when he started bulking up and getting stronger and being able to be more of a power back, or he always had that?
He always had that. He was, you know, Micah was special. You know, like I tell people, he played with God's gift. You know,
Okay.
and what I told him, I said, you know, you'll be great one day once you learn how to work out, train, because you know, until he got to college, his workout was kind of weak, you know, because he knew he would perform. Even in his first pony game, the coach was like telling my oldest son, I'm kind of worried because he didn't practice good. I said, oh, don't worry about it. The lights is on. He's ready. And that's the thing. He didn't want to practice hard because he felt like he might hurt somebody, you know. So once the coach said, I need this every day, he brought it every day. Then the next time he said, hey, Mike, we need you to calm it down a little bit. Like, you can't turn, either you want him to play hard or you don't.
Mr. Parsons, that's crazy. So, he's out here hurting kids in practice if he's going 100%, and he can't do that, and he has to save that for game day.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, everybody's not built for the bright lights. Like, he lives for it. You know, that's. I mean, he was born with it. You know, and once he started training, you see what it's looking like right now.
Mr. Parsons, what about wrestling? Would you say that had a big impact on the skill set that Micah has right now? Micah's elite, and I feel like he has a lot of contact balance, and the stuff that he's doing right now on the D line, a lot of it goes back to his wrestling. I see a lot of UFC fighters coming up, their backgrounds in wrestling, a lot of guys that are coming up, elite athletics right now. They all have backgrounds in some kind of wrestling. What do you have to say about that?
Oh man, wrestling was key, and I found wrestling been around, but in Harrisburg, it wasn't around for the little kids. And I'm so bad with names, but a young man started the wrestling program. Michael might have been about 6, give or take, and my oldest son. They both wrestled, and it was only $5 to sign up. And he was out here loving it. So in his age group, he would always win. When we had dual meets, he would lose because he was like 60, 70 pounds in first grade. So he'd be having to wrestle fourth and fifth graders. But he was strong. He would hold his own, but he had that much success, which was good because, again, it's learning. And I told him, I'm not worried about you winning. I'm worried about you getting better. And then that just transitions into football. That's why his tackle game, he don't have too many missed tackles. You know, he do miss some. NFL's a different level. But if you watched him through high school and college, he didn't miss too many tackles. That wrestling background is key. And I'll tell any football player, if you got time, go wrestle. Don't worry about winning. You know, it's the skill set. It's the one-on-one you out there rapping, 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 and that's key.
Honestly, this is exactly what I wanted to get out of this podcast. I wanted parents and kids to walk away from, what can I do that's a little bit extra, that's going to get me that little bit extra that I need to show out and show up. And I think as a parent, it's finding out these other things that can make your kid better, right? Like, how do I get these kids into other sports that they like that can get them better at, that main sport, which is wrestling to football, right? And that connection there. Was Micah ever a basketball player? Was he ever on the basketball team?
Yes, he's on the basketball team too. He's a Duke fan, but
Okay.
he go hard. And then, he was like a little Shaq, silly on the court, big bruiser guy. And sometimes I wouldn't want to go to the basketball games because, I take sports serious. So if you're not going to give 100%, I don't want to watch it. So it's a school around here in Philly called Chester. And I said, son, listen, it don't matter whatever you do in Harrisburg ever again. When it comes to basketball, what you do in this game define you. So I really need you to go hard and play. I think he finished with like 18 points, 22 rebounds.
Wow.
And the other team had dudes like 6'8", 6'9". Michael like 6'3", but he was just jumping out the gym, grabbing them. We didn't win the game. It was a tight game, but he played with that edge. And I was like, that's like, I really felt like if he want to go Division 1 in basketball with what the coaches would have brought to him, he could have. I'm not saying he would have been a first round lottery pick, but he would have competed.
Mr. Parsons, what are those conversations like? You're trying to get your kids to be elite. Sometimes you got to have tough conversations with them about having accountability, playing harder, practicing harder. How are those conversations like for you with your kids? And what would you say that is something you can take away from that made them successful?
Well, when I was coaching them, it was tough, and what I had to learn was I had to back away and let somebody else coach them.
I got you.
Because if we get to going at it as me as a coach, then we go home with it. You see what
Yep.
I'm saying? Then there's no separation.
That car
And
ride isn't nice on the way home,
yeah,
right?
when it's both ways, I try my best, and I was hard on my kids, because I just wanted them to be successful. You know, I made some mistakes in life, I'm good right now. I still work hard, but I wanted them to be better than me. And they're doing their thing, I'm proud of them.
And honestly, Mr. Parsons, that's what I wanted to mention on here. Like you as a father, everyone's a parent. Nobody knows how to parent. Everybody makes mistakes, right? And it's all about the journey and learning from the journey and figuring out, how can I tell other people what worked so I can make their kids better. Um, Now, I want to talk about Penn State. That's hometown for you guys, right? Was there ever a question with him visiting these other schools that he was going to go to another college, or were you guys always pushing for Penn State to be that school?
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it 100. So I was a Larry Johnson fan.
Okay.
Larry Johnson coached DNs at Penn State for years. Then he went to Ohio State. Everybody who played DN for Larry Johnson was either a first or second round draft pick, lottery. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Ohio State didn't like Ohio State as a
You were
college.
pushing for that then because you wanted him to coach Micah, right?
Yes. So he committed to Penn State early, and I was a little upset. I was like, no, that's my team, but I don't want you to go there because it's my team. I need you to really visit some
So
other
was that the
schools.
reason why, Mr. Parsons, is because it's like a family team type of tie that you guys have there?
For me and my oldest son, you know, I grew up Penn State back in the day. They was basic blue and white,
Yeah.
no things on the back, just go out there and play. And I love that about them. Then people, older than me say, why you like Penn State? They want to talk about what happened before I was born.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't change that. This is who I like, and that's who I'm gonna root for. You know what I mean? So with that being said, so I said, son, I mean, we gotta visit some schools. So we start visiting, and every school had something different. Every school had
Okay.
something. Then me and his mom went back and forth. She said, oh, Penn State's just perfect. I said, no, it's perfect for us. Because you could drive up, I could drive up, but it might not be perfect for him. I need him to see other schools so he can make a conscious decision.
Now, Mr. Parsons, what about the piece there where, your kid's leaving you and they're going to another state and they might not get your support no more? They might not have that family support. Is that something that's important in these situations, keeping your kids close to home?
Yes and no. Some kids want to leave, regardless. They can care about support. They want to get out.
Yeah.
Some want that support. And that was the big thing because, Michael loved both his parents, but he's the mama's boy. Everybody knows that.
I got
So,
you.
he thought about Oklahoma, he thought about Georgia, and I was like, well, son, this I'm gonna break it down for you. If you pick these schools, at the time I had a job where I'd have transferred. So I'm gonna be there. Your mom ain't had that choice, so she might not be able to make all them games like that, unless it was some type of hidden and they would fly her out. I don't know about all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I got you. I got you. It's a real
so
conversation you got to have, right?
yeah, so we're not gonna bank on that. So at the end of the day, I need you to decide, but I'm gonna come to everything. At the time, I had a part-time job at the airport, so I'm flying across the country. Zoom, zoom. I'm gonna be there, and it came down to it because Georgia laid it out. Man, that was our last official visit. It
What
was
was their plan for so these schools, did they have a different plan for Micah? Was there something like that happened?
well, everybody was going to have him as a hybrid linebacker because they knew he
Okay.
was fast. He could run sideline to sideline. You know, Penn State, they told us from the door. They said, "Listen, we're going to change the position of linebacker. Are y'all okay with that?" And I said, is he going to get an opportunity to play? Because I know that's all my son wants to know. Is he going to get an opportunity to play?
Yep.
If he's not going to play, then we're not cool with it. And he told him, he said, hey, his opportunity to play will depend on how he comes up here and works out. And you see the rest is history.
That's it's number 11, the Stick City, right? So I got that here on the next screen. And I don't think a lot of people know this, and I just wanted to put this out here. Micah graduated 7 months early from high school. He's a smart kid. He committed to Penn State and went up there. And, at an early age, Mr. Parsons, you said Michael was special. When did you know that he was gonna be this kid growing up, and he was a special kid in athletics? When did he start showing that to you?
Honestly, I saw it at Penn State. Through Little League in high school, I felt like he was supposed to do that. I mean, he's 6'3", 220.
Wow.
He's fast, he's big. I mean, that was the expectation from me. Now, through high school, he didn't really get to run the ball until he transferred to Harrisburgh, so he was just defensive end. And that was another story. The school he was at, they wasn't going to give him a chance to play both ways. And his mom didn't like it, but I was like, hey, he's playing. That's all that matters. We just need him to play to go to school for free. Because that was the operation for me. Operation go to school for free.
Yeah, I got you. The funny thing is, Mr. Parsons, I talk about the same thing with my wife. I'm like, what we gotta do? Get our kids to D2 or D1. At least that way they can get a meal plan, get an education. They can, if they play sports, a doctor can look after their body. They're in the best situation possible as a young adult. So I understand what you're saying there. And I got a question for you, Mr. Parsons. Do you think he could be a two-way player right now? Do you think he could be like a Travis Hunter type of player in a goal line situation? You put Micah in, and he could be that type of guy, or are you good with leaving him at defensive end?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I would love to see it just one time just
Yeah.
because, but I'm cool with defensive end.
And do you think that a lot of fans, I think they see guys like Fred Warner and some of these other linebackers, and they think that Micah should be playing primarily at that second level. What would you say, being his dad? Where is he best at? Do you think he's best at rushing from the line? Do you think he's best as that chess piece, kind of moved all the way around the defense? What do you think his strongest traits are?
Well, he played defense. Like I said, if you haven't followed him, he played defensive end from 6 years old up until his senior year.
Yep.
Big time camps, Nike camps out in Oregon, defensive end, dominating 5-star linemen. So going to Penn State playing linebacker, that was no, I was a little nervous because he never played it. But you can't teach speed, and you can't. So his speed helped up from not knowing the position, and his wrestling helped out for him making tackles. And then if you blitz him, you get the best of both worlds.
That's how I figured out who Micah Parsons was. 2019 Cotton Bowl. I started doing research, Mr. Parsons, like I do every year on players and who we can draft in the first round. He was a demon, 14 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Every single play that I watched with him in the 2019 Cotton Bowl, he was making the quarterback literally scared, like out of his mind. Like he couldn't even operate in the pocket. Micah's that guy, and he's a game changer. And that's when I started following you, and we made this connection. So, Mr. Parsons, I wanted to ask you, growing up yourself, like you're a football fan. Have you always been a Cowboys fan? Has that been your NFL team? Have you had a favorite player? Maybe you had your kids watch that you wanted them to model their game after.
Nah, I've been a fan since '78. Um, we just watch football, never want to compare you to nobody. Like, when he got to the NFL, they was talking about Lawrence Taylor and all that. And like my
Yeah,
son said, I don't want I want to be Micah Parsons. You know, I don't want to be the next somebody else. I want to be Micah Parsons, and I love that for him. He want to make his own identity. I let everybody else compare and talk the numbers. Like, you can't compare it to a Reggie White. Reggie White is once in a lifetime type of player. You know, Lawrence Taylor, once in a lifetime type of player. So you can't really compare them guys. And then at the same time, my son's not a natural defensive end on the NFL level. He's the size of a linebacker playing DN with speed and strength that helps make up for the lack of the weight. He's giving up 40, 50 pounds every snap.
that's the thing. And you mentioned Reggie White. I got a stat up here, Mr. Parsons, on the screen. Fewest games to 50 career sacks. See Reggie White there at 40. Micah's there at 61. Um, he's up there with a lot of legends. He's walking his way into a gold jacket, in my opinion, and walking his way into the Hall of Fame at the pace that he's at. So let's talk some Cowboys. You were just at the Pro Bowl, Mr. Parsons. How was that? How was that experience for you? And seeing Micah kind of in those challenges. He won the fastest man challenge there, like always. He's killing it with his speed. How was that for you?
No, it's just a beautiful thing, just to see your son living his dream. A lot of guys play sports because their dads played or they're
Yep.
forced into it. I just wanted you to pick a sport to get a free education. What you did after that, it didn't matter. And that was big because he told me from the door, I'm only doing 3 years. I said, well, you better get your degree.
And
And
he
that was
did.
it.
And he
And that
did,
was
right?
the plan. Yep, he graduated. And that's what, a lot of NFLs and announcers don't talk about. Let's talk about the education piece so these young kids understand. He went to college and graduated in 3 years during COVID.
Mr. Parsons, I don't think I've met or heard one NFL announcer talk about his criminology degree and how he did that in 3 years and did it early. And we just talked about how he finished high school early, 7 months early, too, right? He's a really, really smart kid. And no one's bringing that up as something on the side.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And now, how was that for your family? Draft night, all you guys are there. Do you think he's going to the Cowboys? Do you have a feeling that he's going to go there? Is there anything that you guys know beforehand?
Well, me being a Cowboy fan, um, I'm gonna just keep 100. He wasn't on our radar.
Yeah, he was not. I'm a Cowboy fan too, and I did not expect to take Micah Parsons.
No, we wanted
I thought we were going to take a corner.
Horn. We wanted Horn or Sertain.
And when Sertan went and Horn went,
That,
I'm like, yo,
that changed the draft because we thought we was going to the Broncos. Honestly,
okay. So the Broncos called you guys and said we're interested.
I mean, they said all before the draft, hey, if you're there, you are a guy, And I was like, okay, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go to Denver, but hey, just a chance to get drafted. Hey, we for it. But and as a Cowboy fan, I'm like, yo, if we get Surtain, oh my God, he go opposite of Diggs. They played Alabama together. Like, I'm like, yo, we got two shutdown corners. Like,
Yeah,
this is
it's
what we need.
true. It's true. Sertan is him. Yep.
Yeah. But Jerry Jones, he's a brilliant man. He said, hold on, who I really want is gone right now. Even though he only played 2 years of college football, Micah Parsons probably the best pick to get. But can I get something? Then here come the Eagles.
Is
They
it
wanted to
crazy that the Eagles traded out and didn't pick him up?
no, because they wanted Devontae Smith. Because the Giants wanted Devontae Smith, and the Giants had put out there, if Micah drops to 11, we're going to trade out. And what did they do? They trade out with Chicago. So Jerry Jones was like, hey, I could get him at 10. I get an extra pick or two and get him at 12.
Yep.
And here it is. And I don't even think Jerry knew what he was really getting. He knew he was getting a stud, but I don't think he knew he was getting all of that.
I don't think anybody except you guys knew that. You know what I mean? The guys who are super close to him, the guys who played with him, that been with him his whole life. Nobody knew Micah Parsons was that elite athlete on that level. And I think missing the COVID year was another year of film to give people an excuse to be like, nah, he's not going to do it over and over again. You know what I mean? And it's a good thing for Cowboys fans because Dan Quinn unlocked that from him. Like D-Law had that injury. Micah had a huge opportunity to go on the line and show what he can do. And from there, he's been playing on the line as our number one defensive end. Do you have anything to talk about Dan Quinn and kind of what he did for Micah? Do you feel like he unlocked something in him? What do you have to say about that?
I mean, they was close and everything. I just felt like it was sad that D-Law got hurt. And then my son called me and said, hey, they moved me to DN. I ain't going to lie. I was excited.
You're probably happy,
Like,
right?
I was telling him, I said, yo, I'm telling you, he about to snap. And
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
enough, he won a tear for like 3 straight weeks. Yeah, because you can't that speed, you can't practice that. And he worked on his hand movement. LeVar Arrington was a great mentor, and other guys. And my son be hungry. He asks anybody, hey, you want to train with me? He'll train with other teams' offensive linemen because he wants to be that guy.
Do you feel like that's like a skill that Micah had where he's like not afraid to reach out to people and be like, yo, I need help. Are you down to help me? Like, you're better than me at this. Let me figure out how to get better myself. I feel like he's a super outspoken guy. And talk about LeVar Arrington and how that is to have somebody like that involved and giving him advice.
It's great, and it was crazy because when my son committed to Penn State, LeVar Arrington put a video out.
Okay.
And when he put this video out, I'm like, man, LeVar shouting out my son. I'm thinking this is crazy because there was a lot of good linebackers after LeVar left.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I got a chance to meet LeVar, I said, hey, I'm just curious, when my son was training in California, I was like, why did you, shout my son out like that? He was like, he's the only linebacker that reminded me of myself.
That's deep.
And if you don't mind, I like to mentor him. I say, hey, because you've been where he's trying to go. I ain't been there. So, yes, do what you got to do.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's what you said about Mr. Parsons stepping back when you need to, right? And getting other people to coach them when they're in that position and got that experience.
hmm
And
and
I was gonna say this about really Abdul Carter. Like, you're a Penn State fan, Mr. Parsons. How do you feel about Abdul Carter, and do you think he is a Micah Parsons clone? A lot of people are saying that he's gonna be the next Micah Parsons coming into the NFL.
he's going to be the next Abdul Carter.
Yep.
You know, he's a great guy. Him and Micah train sometimes together. He's a real good kid. And I'm excited for him. I kind of wish he could drop down to where we're picking at 12, but I doubt if that happens.
I got a dream that we got both those guys on the defense, and Abdul Carter will be wrecking havoc. But Mr. Parsons, let's talk some Cowboys. What are you looking for this year for us to improve? Who do you want to draft in the first round? What kind of position do you think we need?
Before we can talk about draft, we got to see what we're going to do in this offseason. You
That's the
know,
problem. So we got Brian Schottenheimer now, right? So what do you feel about that? What do you feel about Mike McCarthy and us moving on? I feel like it was time. The Green Bay loss was too much for me. He lost in Green Bay too when we played them in Green Bay. He basically lost that game. We were up like 2 touchdowns, maybe a little bit more, made them go to OT. I feel like Green Bay was just something he could never get off his back.
yeah, I mean, it was a bad year all the way around. Like other teams had a lot of injuries, but our injuries hurt us more.
We had injuries to
You know,
key positions. Yeah.
yeah. So it was a bad deal. You know, like I felt bad. You know, it's business. You know, you got 3 12 win seasons plus, and then don't go 500. I mean, that's a hurt piece, especially when you think you're going to win. But like I said, you know, that Green Bay loss, I think that was the hardest loss for any Cowboy in history.
I'm 32, Mr. Parsons. We're not even going to talk like you're Micah's dad no more. We're chopping it up like fans right now. So, like, straight up, I haven't seen nothing in my whole life other than Dez's catch, Aaron Rodgers throwing it to Jared Cook on the sideline. And it's just straight depression, man. So it's sad. Like, it's literally sad. And we have so many good players, so it's not even like I can blame Jerry for not building the roster because it's like there's talent there. It's just like I just don't get how we can't get over the hump.
Yeah, but when you look around the league, we didn't get any better in the offseason
We
with
did a
free agency.
poor job at the offseason last year. I'm gonna agree on that.
Yeah, so when everybody kept saying we ain't gonna win 19 games, I said, man, y'all crazy. But that was reality. It was a reality check. And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't really got no conversation. I'm just going to sit back. Like, we got a whole new coaching staff, almost top to bottom. I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about them because they all brand new. Show me what's going on with the moves we trying to make. What we going to do that's different than last year? Then we can have a discussion right now. Hey, that's the man for the job. You know what I mean? Man for the job. We got the best man. I feel we got the best man in the job all the way around, regardless what the media say.
Honestly, forget the media. Let's just chop it up and talk about it. Brian Schottenheimer is coming from a prestigious family, right? Like his dad was a legendary coach. He was number seventh winningest head coach in all of NFL history. I feel like he has like a inner fire in him. You know what I mean? Like a motivation nobody else has. That yo, I gotta win this for my family and do this for my dad. And you said it. A lot of people do this because their dad did it, or somebody else did it, and they want to look up to them. I feel like Shoddy has something where he's trying to do something for his legacy, and that's a little bit different. So it's like an X factor for me. And then the second piece there is I know he likes to run the ball, and we need to get back to running the ball. I'm going to be
Mhm.
honest with you, Mr. Parsons. Dak is immobile right now. Like I feel like it's he's not somebody who's going to be scrambling out of the pocket as much as we want him to. So if that's the case, we need the play action game to pop off. And I'm waiting for us to possibly draft Genti or a running back in the first or second round so we can get back to that. We need somebody that can tote the rock like 20 times a game here.
Yeah. I like Rico. I just feel like he didn't get a chance in the beginning of the season.
Look what happened when Rico did get a chance going into the end of the season, right? Rico got his offensive line that was consistent after Zach. It sucked. Zach Martin went down, but once Brock Hoffman got in there and they got somebody that was there every single game, you saw Rico getting 100 yards every game, all-purpose yards, 120. So Rico's a good back. I think he needs to be paired with somebody else. Mr. Parsons, what
Mhm.
do you feel about our DT situation? I feel like they need a big boy on the line.
Definitely. I know we can't afford it or we can't make it happen, but if we could get Miles Garrett,
Let's talk about it. Like,
man, like that'd be Christmas for us.
I'm gonna
I ain't saying we're
honestly.
gonna win the Super Bowl, but man, that would slow down some of them double teams and triple teams my son gets.
Okay, so let's talk about this. What do you think is more important for us? Getting a star running back or getting another person on the defense to help out Micah so they can stop people and stop the run? And, we haven't been able to stop the run in years. So is that more important, do you think? Or do you think we need someone like Saquon, Derrick Henry, somebody like that to upstart our offense?
Them guys is good, but you need a consistent line to make it happen.
That's it.
You mean you see? Look at Barkley. I mean, he did decent in New York, but it was too much. And then the running game only works when you got people you can throw the ball to. So he got the best of both worlds. He's not facing 8, 9 in the box no more. You see what I'm saying? You got Brown on one side, you got Smith, and then you got Goddard. Yeah, them guys is respected. So his running lanes is different now.
I heard I'd interviewed somebody from 105.3 The Fan last week. He was on my podcast. He said he doesn't think D-Law's coming back. So I think defensive end is going to be a big need for us. Um, Not sure what's going to happen there, but you're right. It's wait and see right now, right? What's the staff going to do? Are they going to give him a chance to shop in free agency? That's what I'm waiting to find out. If we can pick up one or two guys at free agency, I think we'll be all right in the draft. But couple things, in my opinion, I think we need Mr. Parsons. We need someone besides CD Lamb that could take the pressure off him. Rico's good, but I think we need somebody else that can be a tandem with him, and we have a two-back system going on. Zeke's just he's not it right now. You know what I mean? I think his time in the league is over, and he needs to get replaced by someone who's younger that can, be able to. Zeke's good for goal line, but I feel like he's really limited in terms of what we can do with him and for three down situations. So I definitely think Rico needs help. And then I think we need that defensive tackle, Mr. Parsons. We need to get that double team off of Micah. We need to get those linebackers freed up. I'm torn with Overshown, though, man. I thought he was our guy. And
He is a Yeah, man. He's a good kid, good family. Yeah,
have you met him?
yeah, and his dad. I love his dad.
He's a good kid, and I'm wishing all the best for him. And I think he might be one of the comeback players of the year. Mr. Parsons, we actually went way longer than we were supposed to. So I am going to be respectful of your time and I appreciate it. I want
Man,
to, yeah, what's up?
if you got time, I'm cool.
All right, that's cool. Let's get into the Super Bowl, man. What do you think about this prediction with what's going on? And before we even get into that, Mr. Parsons, how is it being in PA, being a Cowboys fan? I need to hear that part first.
Oh man, it's rough. It's rough. Like I'm gonna be a hater. I want the Chiefs to win
Same.
because if the Eagles win, it's gonna break the internet, and I'm not gonna be to live it down until we get at least a playoff win. But in reality, the Eagles got the weapons to win. They're favored when it comes to all around talent, but when it comes to coaching and experience, that's the Chiefs. I feel it's gonna be a shootout. Last team with the ball is gonna win.
Honestly, Mr. Parsons, I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer. I just don't think that he's that guy. He has AJ Brown on the team, Devontae Smith, and sometimes he can't get it done with his arm. And I think we're seeing that with Saquon on the team. So I'm kind of worried that, well, not worried, I'll be happy. But if Saquon gets shut down, I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to win the game.
Well, and that's what I was arguing with somebody about today. I said, listen, if you think Andy Reid ain't game planning for the run, he's gonna try to make Hurts beat him with his arm. If you don't
That's
game
it.
plan for to lose, I'm putting 9 in the box, tell my corners, play a couple yards off and play tough. He's going to throw for 400 yards to beat us. We
And
can't let Barkley, because if Barkley get going, it's over.
Chiefs got the defense to stop Barkley, in my opinion, too. They got Chris Jones in the middle and Carl Loftus, their defensive end. He's been playing nice in the playoffs recently.
Yeah, but my young boy James Cook was dicing them up last week.
He was. And James Cook, with that reaching touchdown, he almost got that dub, right? And you feel like there's like, Mr. Parsons, people say this shit all the time. The NFL is rigged. You know what I mean? And there's
Mhm.
close calls. There's stuff that happens that, you look at it later on. It might be a little bit close and they made the wrong call. What do you think about that? I don't think it's rigged. I think there's too many things happening on at the same time for it to be like that. I know there's a lot to do with draft, like betting and stuff, but
Yeah, that's why people feel it's rigged because people's betting their house and they shouldn't be. Um,
people are taking L's on these parlays and they're just crying
yeah,
after.
I mean the refs are human. I mean some calls is blatant that they missed, and some calls they just missed. You could call hold and call every play in the NFL. You just got to pick and choose. Like if you remember that Minnesota Rams game when I forget the young man's name, number 8, I think it's the rookie linebacker. He came in the end zone and sacked him, but he ripped his whole face mask, turned his whole head around the end
They
zone.
didn't even see it.
Yo, they didn't even throw the flag. He was right there in the ref's face. You know what I mean?
Literally.
So
And it's what's bad, Mr. Parsons, when the commentator's saying it after. Like, what's wrong with them? They didn't even throw the flag here. He's looking right at it.
even the player, he grabbed his helmet like, oh my God, oh my, he knew. And they ain't call it like, so I mean, you can call it cheating, it's missed calls, but hey, it happens. That's why I never was a referee. I did a scrimmage one time, and I got so caught up in the game, I was missing calls. I said, "Oh, this ain't for me."
I'm gonna tell you a funny story, Mr. Parsons. So I was a defensive coordinator for this high school program, okay? And my head coach was sick this one weekend. We had a game. We had to go drive out there, and you had to go call the plays for the whole team. I was so confused, Mr. Parsons, when they were on offense. I didn't know what to do. The kids are looking at me, yelling at me to call them to play. Like, trust me, when you don't do this and you don't do it regularly, it's not easy. And something else I want to throw out there to the viewers too. I just watched a podcast yesterday. It was with John Gruden. Can you believe this? John Gruden said that he had no idea what a one technique and a three technique was when he joined coaching. He said he had no idea what football was when he became a coach. So I just want to throw it out there that anybody that's watching this, whatever you want to do, if you're down to grind and you're down to do what's necessary to be great, you can be great in it. It just takes time and effort. And that was crazy to me, Mr. Parsons, because John Gruden is somebody I used to watch on Monday Night Football, and I used to think that he was teaching me the game.
hmm
So that's crazy. But who do you think's going to be the MVP for the Super Bowl, and who do you think's going to win?
Mahomes and the Chiefs.
And what's your score prediction here? You said it was going to be a one-score game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 45-42.
Damn, you think it's going to be that high?
I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a lot of big plays.
I think that's exactly what the NFL would want. Um, I'm going to ask you something. As a Cowboys fan, not as Micah's dad, what do you think the Cowboys are going to do, and when do you think we're going to get to the Super Bowl? What do we need to do right now to improve the team to be one of these top-tier contenders?
I hope Schottenheimer's a motivator. You know, one of them guys that runs down the sidelines. Full of energy. Like we don't have that. You watch Mike Tomlin. You watch. I'm bad with names. The Texans coach, the Rams
D'Amico
coach.
Ryans, yep, yep.
Well, they
Sean
they run them.
McVay.
Yeah, they're meeting their guys in the end zone. Like that's how I coach basketball. Like I'm up and down the court with my girls. Like I feel like I'm on the court. Like I'm the sixth man. Like and they feel that energy. When you got coaches like that, that changes the dynamic. You know what I mean? It makes you want to play harder.
That's what they've been selling him as, though, right? This relationship guy, and I feel like I'm kind of torn because I feel like we need that X's and O's guy, and they keep selling him as this relationship guy and that he's a motivator and a big builder. I'm curious to see how that's going to be, and he has some help, right? So he got Eberflus from Chicago. He's going to be the defensive coordinator. He has previous head coaching experience. And I saw they got San Fran's D coordinator from last year to be the special teams coach. I saw an interview of our new D line coach, Aaron White Cotton. So he's from the Jets, and I guess he'll be coaching Micah this year. He was talking about, and he's coached the Jets D line to be actually really successful, Mr. Parsons. He had Quinnen Williams at like 10 and a half sacks. He had Brees Hall playing really well there as well. He's somebody that the Cowboys got, and his whole motto is violence on the defensive line, being violent with your hands. I feel like we need a new voice in the room, and maybe that's what the Cowboys needed. What do you think? Like, do you think a coaching change does that for the team? Do you think it's a motivating thing? Do you think it's demotivating having your head coach fired? Like, what does that do to the team?
I mean, it's definitely a change. A change is coming, and they see that. It's
You
all
feel
about
like
how
they
they
could
take
feel
to.
that the whole time?
Yeah, because you when you're used to certain some. I always say if you're not prepared for change, you're going to struggle in life.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing. You got to be prepared for change. Like even at work, you can wear a sweatsuit every day. Next week, the boss might want you to wear suits. What you going to do? Quit your job because he wants you to wear suits now?
Yeah, it's true.
You got to adjust. If you can't adjust, you can't. Even in basketball, when I coach girls, the one thing is say, I hate playing you because you change up all the time. Yeah, I may throw 7 defenses at you in the first half because you don't practice. You practice man to man and maybe a zone. But if I throw a couple of different D's at you're going to call timeout to try to draw some plays up. And then when you come out of your timeout, I got something else to put in. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm waiting for the Cowboys. I'm waiting for them to get a coach that can call these plays. Like you see Andy Reid winning the game on that rub route in Buffalo. That's a play, right? That he's been waiting to call, that he has in his back pocket, and he knows on third or fourth down when I got to call this play, or we're going to execute this because we've been working on this all year round. I need a coach like that has the confidence instilled in the team. So I'm hoping Shoddy can be that guy. And honestly, I'm curious to see what happens on the defense as well. Like I feel like our defense is playing really good, and we played so much better last year, even with the injuries. So many guys stepped up. Chauncey Golson stepped up. Mozzie Smith had a better year. These guys need
Yeah.
one more year under their belt to continue to get better.
I'm looking for more corner blitzes, safety blitzes. Like the last 2 years I was watching and they talk about Parson, they talk about D Law,
Hmm.
but they expect too much from them. You got 4 guys going against 5 and 6 and 7 guys. What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, you got
No,
four guys going against five guys on the O line. Plus, they probably have their tight end chipping Micah Parsons. So it's like
and they're
4 on
running back.
6 at least,
Yeah,
right?
so yeah, bring that corner in, bring that safety down. So show something. We don't blitz a lot. It's crazy. If we blitz more, Micah might not get the sack. D-Lo might get the sack, but somebody's gonna get in there because it's one-on-ones, and they're gonna fare off better.
Mr. Parsons, I've been studying the draft pretty hard so far this month, and I've been breaking down some film, studying some kids, and I wouldn't be surprised if offensive tackle or cornerback were the two best positions left on the board at 12. I'm looking at Will Johnson from Michigan State and possibly Josh Simmons from Ohio State if his knee injury is okay. Would you be upset if the Cowboys went and drafted on the O line round one?
Nah, because I mean the O line, got a lot of injuries, so you can never go wrong building up an offensive line so you can have depth. You can never go wrong.
Are you interested? Are you like one of those guys that believes in building through the trenches?
Yeah. For years we had the best offensive line, so things was easy. Now we don't. So you see the struggle. So you got to build up. You got to win in the trenches. O line, D line. That's where the game starts at. Who's going to be the most dominant?
That's the thing, and we're s- it's crazy, Mr. Parsons. I'm thinking about this matchup, right? And I'm thinking about Trent Williams against Micah Parsons. Trent Williams is like 100 pounds more than Micah Parsons. You know what I mean? And his strength, he's still able to bull rush. He's still able to punch. He's still able to, rip and get his hands off him and make plays. So when you guys are looking at the draft, it's not about how much these guys weigh. It's not about, how big these guys are. It's all about their athleticism and their skill set and how they use this stuff and become successful. And Mr. Parsons, I loved having you on today. Thank you so much for coming on and supporting me and supporting the channel. It was great to chop it up with you and talk about Micah, talk about the brotherhood. I want to bring that up one more time before we get off. So Micah Parsons' dad has this charity group. He's helping kids out. He's helping kids out in Harrisburgh, helping kids out in PA. I'm going to put the Cash App and his email in the description here. I'll also edit it so it pops up right on the video right now. And guys, if you can donate to his charity, I'll also donate to his charity as well to show my good faith. And like I said, I will be dropping that TD Labz Brotherhood merch, and we'll send Mr. Parsons a bunch of stuff in a nice care package so you can send that out to some kids and get that to them. So, Mr. Parsons, I'm going to come down to Dallas next year. We're going to link up for a game. Keep in touch with me, and I'm going to try to have you back on here in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks so much for everything, and if there's anything else you want to leave off with, please go ahead.
Oh no, I just put my email, my cash app, and the brotherhood, and the mess. I don't know if they can see the message or whatever.
Don't worry, send it over to me, and then I'm gonna edit the video, and when I drop it tomorrow, I'm gonna put all your stuff in there. All right?
Okay, no problem. I appreciate you. But yeah, so oh, and last, I'm with this thing, Mr. Guy named Keith. He's out of Atlanta. He has an initiative called "I'm a Father First."
I'm a father first. Okay, tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that.
So I just started. Here go my jacket, if you can see.
I got you there.
Yeah. So gonna get a little light. I'm a father first, and then on the back, basically it's almost like the brotherhood. You know, trying to reach young men, and it goes. He just don't start with the fathers. I'm a mother first, because at the end of the day, we're parents first,
This is
first and
true.
foremost.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to forget about the relationship and realize you are a parent first. And one thing I can say about me and Micah's mom, through all the trials and tribulations, we were able to co-parent great. So when people are like, oh, Parson did a good job, like, oh, his mom Sharice did a great job too. We both played our roles in helping our kids get to where they got.
And I think
You
that's
know,
the most important message that we're trying to send here, right? Is no one's perfect, but all that matters is that you care and you're trying to do your best, right? And as long as you're trying to do your best and you got your kids' interests at heart, I think that's how your kids become successful. And what was that called again? I'm a father first.
yes,
Perfect. Mr. Parsons, I'm going to add that on here too. And if you can send me that information outside of here, I'll also put that in the description if anybody wants to donate to your. I think you said your friend was Keith.
yeah. I'll send you his information.
Perfect. If anybody wants to donate to Keith's brand, we can do that as well. And hey, Mr. Parsons, maybe I'll do a drop for TD Labz with I'm a Father First as well, and we can get something done there. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. As kids, we watch our fathers and we watch our mothers, and sometimes we think wrong is right, and we become parents, and then we try to do opposite of what we saw, but sometimes we
It's
thought
true.
that was right.
It's true.
So there's no book on parenting. You learn every day. Every day. I know I grew up, thought some of my friends had the greatest parents, but then realized, they had troubles too. I just didn't see them as a kid, but as we got older, it was talked about, you know what I mean? So I always tell people, always hear guys say, oh, I ain't go to the game because she ain't want me there. Forget her. That's your child.
I
Forget him. That's your child. You know what I mean? So yeah.
gotta take
Like we
care of
were
your kids first, right? And have
yeah,
their
we used to like a Pro
priorities
Bowl
of
together.
interest.
Yeah, we all like best friends, you know what I mean? Hey, the marriage didn't work, it's cool. We still family.
Mr. Parsons, I also been chopping it up with Terrence Jr. on X. So next time I got you on here, I'm gonna bring him on here too. All right, and I'll get
Oh
both
yeah.
of you guys on here, and we could all chop it up together. But I appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for coming on here. It means a lot to me. I'm a small content creator, and just to talk to you and to go through this, I know it's gonna be sick for the fans and for myself. You're helping me a lot too, and Mr. Parsons, I'm making it. It's on the way. So you get a care package from me here shortly with some TD Lab stuff, and you take a picture in it or something and send it over. I'd love it.
Oh
I'll
yeah.
repost it and I'll do all that for you. Okay.
Are you
Oh,
hungry for
definitely.
more
I'm gonna
NFL
post on
draft
Instagram and
content?
Facebook.
Like,
I got
subscribe,
you.
and
And
follow our
we'll get
YouTube
you
channel.
back on here in a couple months or something closer to training camp, and we'll chop it up again. But we'll keep this relationship going. I'm gonna come down to Dallas for a game. I'll probably come down for training camp too. And whenever I can see you in person, we'll link up in person too. All right.
Oh yeah, just keep me posted.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it so much.
All right, no problem. Have a good one.